Now that we've been able to model individual markets, we have to figure out how do firms hire these different factors of production when they have to hire more than one. Because let's face it, most businesses are going to have to do that. So first of all, we have to figure out different alternative input combinations. And now there are two different types of things within factor markets. There are substitutes and there are complements. I know we've used these terms a lot in microeconomics. These ones make a lot of sense, though. It's the idea for substitutes, two factors that do essentially the same work. So types of workers, machines for humans, things like that. Complements are two factors that must be combined to produce some type of output. So a lot of machinery, you can almost think of it as like a cash register uh, in a store. You need a person to operate that cash register, unless we're talking about the new ones where you self checkout. But a cash register in a grocery line that is not self checkout needs a human to operate it. So the presence of one increases the marginal product of the other. So there's a few things we have to figure out with this. How do we minimize costs? And then how do we figure out our optimal input? So the cost minimization, this has to do more with efficiency than it has to do with actual production levels and how many things you're actually hiring legitimately. Now you could use this, especially for perfectly competitive firms, but this is how you get to that least cost, that bottom of the ATC, if you want to think of it that way. The cost minimization rule is to get the same bang for your buck of every different input. So for this, your marginal product of your labor should be uh, divided by your wage. So your MP sub L divided by wage should equal your marginal product of your capital divided by the rental price of that capital, or in other words, the wage of the capital, however much you have to pay for it. So when those are all equal, you are at the bottom of your ATC. You have minimized costs. So the marginal product of labor divided by wage has to equal the marginal product of capital divided by the rental rate of that capital. And you can do this for as many different inputs as you want. So whatever the marginal product of that input is divided by however much that input costs. Now, the one that's more important, not that cost minimization doesn't show up on the AP test, but the one that's more important when it comes to actual real life situations is the optimal input mix, profit maximization. And for this, it really is the same as the profit maximization rule we did when we looked at the graphs. It's the idea that your MRP has to be the same as your wage. MRP divided by wage equals 1. Same idea as MRP of capital divided by the rental rate of that capital has to equal 1. It's just MRP equals MFC. Your wage or your rental rate, that's your MFC. So when your MRP is equal to your MRP divided by your MFC equals 1. That's it. It's really just another way of stating what you see in the graph already. And that's really it when it comes to input mixes.